I've discovered a new trend I face. Whenever I talk Sonic, I get sick. I somewhat feel like garbage because I think I have a cold. Yay! Either that or allergies or both. I can't tell the difference. I want to say allergies. Granted, the last time I talked about Sonic was, Jesus Christ, almost 2 years ago? Yeah, it's been a hot-ass minute since I threw my hat in the proverbial Sonic discussion ring. Though you could argue a lot's happened with Sonic since, but ironically at the same time, nothing much has really happened either. Sonic had a surprisingly solid and successful movie in 2020. I couldn't talk about it since my channel got hacked, so that'll have to be done at a later point. The comics are still going, the people who read them seem to like them, but beyond those two things, it's some announcements here and there, Sonic Prime, the Sonic movie sequel, etc. I'd argue it has been kind of dry in main Sonic content news, or news with actual substance or weight, you know? The Sonic movie sequel wrapping up filming and the leaks on that are big. The movie did do well, but people are looking at the main series of games for the meat and potatoes, you know? SEGA at least confirmed they're making a presence this E3, and this year does mark Sonic's 30th anniversary, so logically you'd assume at least one big Sonic announcement or game would be on the horizon, no? Point is, that whole Sonic state of Quandary, the position Sonic has been in which it's been at such a blank slate since Forces in guessing where the franchise is going to go, what SEGA and Sonic Team are going to do, or what the next main game is going to be alongside this long wait period of knowing this kind of information, that the closer we get to a proper unveiling or new announcement, the more fans are going to hype themselves up, and the more tension and pressure rises on SEGA and Sonic Team's shoulders. And even then, it'll at least be a whole month away until we get Sonic anything. Jesus, what the f is that? Scratch that. As I was typing this script, there will be some Sonic stuff announced this Thursday, May 27th at 9 AM Pacific, 12 PM Eastern, in which there will be first looks at some upcoming projects, partnerships, and events to celebrate Sonic's 30th anniversary. After such a hot minute of no major Sonic news since Team Sonic Racing, which came and went, and the Sonic movie, which is its own side thing, albeit big and noteworthy in its own way, official Sonic media outlets are alluding to something big happening with Sonic in a few days, and likely within the coming month or so. Fans online are getting really excited over this and pondering what they could possibly announce here. And let me open up one whole can of worms for a second and ask, can we agree Sonic fans weren't eating as good as people like to claim until this announcement popped up several hours ago? I'm gonna play catch up for a bit here since it has been a minute since I discussed anything Sonic, but short story, it's been forever since main game news. Some Sonic fans feel they've lost trust or reassurance with SEGA, Sonic Team, and their attitude and resources spent towards Sonic games. Some have felt that for over a decade and a half at this point, but I'm hyper-focusing on the active Sonic fans who want something Sonic from SEGA that'll teeter more on the good side of the scale. And while you have some of those people still waiting on that main game announcement or felt like SEGA should have dropped some kind of context as to what the next Sonic game may be or when to expect that context, you had plenty of people countering that, saying Sonic was eating good with the comics and the movies, pushing the narrative of those Sonic fans wanting to rush developers and pump out that next Sonic game unfinished, or being hypocrites and wanting the next game to be polished but making up the idea, wanting to know context or when to expect an announcement of said game equals rushing it out immediately when those aren't mutually exclusive. The franchise ain't dead, it's still ongoing at least, and they are doing various other projects with it, but most people looking at Sonic and Sonic news are looking for the main game announcements. They just simply want main game news and nothing else. That's not them demanding they release the next game immediately as they give context or ideas as to what it could be. This dives into the whole multimedia aspect of Sonic, and people push the idea, well, Sonic's a multimedia franchise now, so of course they push other Sonic stuff and not main Sonic stuff. You need to learn to be grateful when we get any Sonic news at all. Let me drop a little reality for some of those people. The movie did do good, and most seem to have enjoyed it, but there are a decent number of people who felt it wasn't really Sonic and another addition to the average fiction character enters real world type of movie. The Sonic comics I know are good, but such a smaller fraction of Sonic fans take up those who actually read those comics compared to how many play the game specifically. For as much as there are Sonic fans who will check out the other side Sonic branches, where Sonic is making those pillars, and even when you have Sonic fans who won't check them out yet play other games, those people care more about the main games, because that's what most people are familiar with. That's what set the foundation of the franchise's popularity and recognition. It's a simple want/preference, and it makes logical sense. And while Sonic's been branching off in various other forms of multimedia and spin-offs, very healthily I'll add, and with palpable success and praise in doing so, the fact the main branch, the core foundation of the franchise, has been left on hold for several years when Sega's pumped out Sonic games more regularly, and when the quality of plenty of these main games have been very hit or miss this past decade, it's hard for me to buy. Sonic fans are supposed to be eating good, considering this. Sonic for the longest time has always been a video game franchise, like regardless of whatever success other side projects reach or lack in, mainline Sonic games always got the most press and sales since the franchise's birth. The movie's brand new, and for the success and money it raked in on top of mainstream appeal it garnered, it still somewhat pales compared to games and even merchandise since they've been around for far longer and have sold far more as a result. Pokemon's the exact same way. Even when Pokemon's the biggest multimedia franchise globally, most still pay attention to the main games and worry about those more than others because Pokemon has always been a video game franchise first and continuously acknowledges that, Mario as well. And as far as the gaming side goes, we all know Sonic's been mad dry in giving any sort of gaming news when we're talking a video game icon and franchise the past couple years. And me noting the whole Sonic fans are eating good narrative is with another side of the Sonic discussion / hype perspective. Sonic fans eating good or not, I feel was a lot more subjective until now, which even now I'm the kind of guy who bases that on what is announced, so I still feel Sonic fans will eat significantly better come this Thursday, if not June, where we get actual context. But some people tended to use that as an excuse to invalidate any sort of pessimism towards Sonic since Forces, or negate any anti-hype from people whenever people wanted some game announcements or news / context, which felt dumb to me. It's one thing to purposefully be a Debbie Downer to someone else, or downplay Sonic's success, popularity, and reach over dramatically, even when some games may flub, like in 2020, where Sonic announced or released no new games. The series still sold over 4 million units of Sonic games between Team Sonic Racing, Mania, Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo Olympics, and surprisingly Generations. Again, the Sonic movie's surprisingly critical success and massive box office success, the hype and press surrounding the sequel, Sonic expanding into animated Netflix series like Prime, regardless of some iffy games here and there, regardless of how critical or negative some online may feel towards Sonic or a specific game, Sonic still is incredibly popular. The character's design, other characters' designs, several games throughout the years, the massive fan community, among other factors. Even when he's not doing anything or floundering here and there, Sonic still has a ton of support and fans backing him up. There's no denying that on either a financial or popular level. But when there are still plenty of people who feel lukewarm or indifferent on Sonic after Forces, and the lack of news since, that's not them trying to rush a game release or the developers or anything. They just want some context about the next mainline game or to know what it could potentially be. And between Forces being the game it was and when Sega used to pump out Sonic games more frequently over a decade ago, it's understandable people just want some reassurance or affirmation of the next Sonic game in terms of structure and quality. Even when it was the pandemic where most of this back and forth took place, it didn't stop Nintendo from announcing new games and dropping new games in 2020. It didn't stop Sony or Microsoft from announcing and releasing whole new consoles and games for those consoles during 2020. Sega themselves still announced and released other games of their own like Yakuza or Persona 5 Strikers. So for Sonic fans to want at least a crumb of Sonic news during 2020 when they didn't feels reasonable and justified to me. We were supposed to get monthly Sonic announcements during 2020, but that came at the height of the pandemic, so for them to dial back on that when they plan to do something like that does justify Sonic fans feeling slightly antsy or disappointed in my opinion in getting a proper announcement. Just something. No, that's not them hypocritically pushing for the game to release immediately. It's just them wanting to know what the next Sonic game may be. Simple, transparent statements or development updates can go a long way in that. Not even teaser trailers or sudden release dates. No, that's not being ungrateful of the other franchises or side Sonic projects when they've been focused on the main games, when Sonic's always been a gaming franchise, and when above all else, this is the one people need to understand and remind themselves, this is a consumer asking for context of a specific product towards the developer. I've mentioned this with Nintendo and Nintendo fans, Smash and Smash fans, etc. Gratefulness should not be a narrative to negate any sort of negativity or valid criticism towards a game/series when the relationship has always been a company selling products towards its consumers. The company isn't a friend towards whoever buys these games. These are businesses making decisions and selling products to consumers who may or may not buy it and have the right to judge the quality based on what they see, feel, or play pre or post release. Take this from the guy who would not stop trying to push the ideas. Forces is gonna be good. Finally a good Sonic game. Finally some new main 3D Sonic game info, so it must be good. Why Sonic Forces is smart. Literally that was me in 2017. Mania was at least genuinely good, but lord was Forces not. I can understand the optimist out there shooting their expectations beyond the moon over this, given the time it's been since the last major game announcement and all the jargon the media team and some interviews gave, but I can't invalidate or pretend to misunderstand any pessimism towards Sonic in these announcements either, which is where this quandary and tension comes back full circle and amplifies day by day. The optimist side of Sonic, I just explained, I understand why. We really want that great Sonic game. The video SEGA and the official Sonic YouTube teased has multiple hints and teasers towards Sonic, and there are all these somewhat palpable leaks and rumors. That and it's just new Sonic stuff coming at all. On the other hand, there are plenty of people who recently or have been doubting the next Sonic game will deliver for a multitude of reasons, and it's not worth getting hype over. The pessimistic side. Like, people point to the media team mentioning how Sega's trying to restructure and change the whole mindset and approach to new games, that they're trying to take their time and spend more time for quality assurance as undeniable proof that this time will be different. But guys, they spent 4 years working on Sonic Forces, and it ended up as one of the most mediocre games. It was noticeably rushed in spite of its 4-year development period. They and fans, including me, sadly, claimed 2017 was the year of Sonic. 2014 was supposedly the year of Sonic with Sonic Boom. July 2015, Sega CEO apologizes for betraying fans and wishes to make up to them soon. Later in that same year in October, Sega apologizing for Sonic games specifically, like it's the boy who cried wolf or that ex-boyfriend who keeps promising he'd make it up to her and would change. There's only so many times you could say you're sorry and say next time will be different until people notice it really isn't that different. You reach a point you notice it's all talk until they prove they can walk the walk. And for plenty of fans, Sega and Sonic teams yet to walk that walk with enough confidence and stride to say, you can trust us to deliver consistent, high-quality Sonic experiences, and we won't botch them every now and then. Like, the optimist openly hyped about this has plenty of reason to be. They could just love Sonic enough to be hyped. But for those who take to the extreme of invalidating any sort of pessimism or criticism for whatever reason, need to understand that's hazardous towards expectations and trust to the people behind the franchise. It's what converts optimists to pessimists when their expectations fall to a considerable amount because they're raised that high. I've literally been there 4 years ago, so I feel like I could sympathize with both sides, especially pessimists, because they have precedents and history to base it off of. And some may claim Forces was that one time, yet that one time is still a precedent, just as Colors and Generations set that precedent of the games being good despite being yearly releases, and then being examples of Sonic making a grand comeback, yet in my opinion Lost World. But especially Forces went and pulled a 180 on that. Like, nothing's a fluke or that one instance if everything's that one instance, and again, that trust isn't there if there's no consistency in their wording and actions. If they wasted a lot of time on Forces for that game to fumble the ball, there's no guarantee this next game will be any different. I'm of the mindset spending all that time on the world on a game is preferred if it'll mean it'll be a good game, but people need to remember it's also how they utilize their time and resources. Zelda Breath of the Wild had a team behind it with consistent quality output and delayed it many times for it to become one of the most popular, appraised games in the whole industry, not just for either Nintendo or the Zelda series. Yet Mighty No. 9 or Yooka-Laylee, other games meant to be grand recaptures of older IPs, spent long-ass times in development hell and managed being laughingstocks by the time they released. Mania managed to knock it out of the park because Sega outsourced to a team and developers that had to prove to Sega they knew how to make a Sonic game and passed with flying colors in only 2 years. The point is, it always boils down to their vision of their game and how effective their time and resource management is towards it. It's also why, despite Sega pumped out a slew of various Sonic games between the late 90s to early 2010s, you still arguably had a lot of solid, entertaining, to even fantastic Sonic games throughout. Even with the handful of bad, poor Sonic games, they always had a bunch of strict schedules and deadlines, but more often than otherwise for most people, they managed to deliver. They managed to utilize the development time they had and put forth their developers and resources to the best they could. Whereas with Forces, Lost World, Sonic 4, Sonic Boom, Team Sonic Racing, Sonic Colors, etc., on surface level, they couldn't and barely managed to scrape by, if not do the bare minimum. It's a lot deeper when looking at Sonic Boom, to where Sega actively screwed over the developers with changing various deals and telling the team to completely rework the game under a different engine in under a year, or Colors or Team Sonic Racing, to where it's a mix of how far the games go and its ideas they had, or overall quality and general subjective takes on bits and pieces of these games. But my point is, it all depends on how well you manage your time in tandem. with your resources. And resources can combine between actual developers and the technology used to creating these games. Everyone and everything involved, basically. Ultimately, there's just as much reason to be hyped as there is to be hesitant and reserve emotions and expectations until the grand unveiling. People just need to see it's usually not some weird narrative pushing blind fans or toxic fans or whatever. Both sides, to some degree, love Sonic the Hedgehog. It's just history you gotta factor. Speaking of time, most of both sides knew it would be a matter of time for us to get an announcement around this time. SEGA confirmed they're showing up at E3, this year's once again Sonic's 30th anniversary. Tension and pressure would have risen regardless of what did and didn't go on in the past few years, since these anniversaries usually pave way for new Sonic games and other Sonic stuff for us to sink our teeth into. We're all in the same boat of just waiting. That quandary will very soon be cleared up, as it only got thicker and thicker since I last spoke about Sonic. Again, Team Sonic Racing came and went super quick with little fanfare. The Sonic movie was a success, but that came and went somewhat because it's a movie, and meanwhile, it's been deadpan in most other aspects of mainline Sonic until these past several months, with small little changes and decisions being done behind the scenes. The voice actors and actresses of Sonic games tend to go through a culling process every several years, and right now, we're going through that same process. Roger Craig Smith stepped down from his role of voicing Sonic after over 10 years now. Colleen O'Shaughnessy, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, as Tails since 2014, and Cindy Robinson, who voiced Amy for the past couple years, are also confirmed to be leaving. Like, beside Mike Pollock, thankfully, who's sticking with Eggman, the Sonic voice cast is going through another recasting, and we're going to see new voices for these characters. We've kind of seen this take effect already with Team Sonic Racing, since a handful of voice actors for some characters changed in that game. Ken Pontac and Warren Graff, the guys who have been writing Sonic since Colors, are heavily implied to be stepping down writing Sonic games now, one of the most vocal criticisms the games have got since. At the very least, there does seem to be some major shakeup at SEGA, and particularly with Sonic, to where the voices and maybe even the writing may see a drastic change for the next decade at most. It's at least indicative SEGA seemingly changing their mindset towards the entire perspective of their in-house staff towards Sonic, and maybe even their other IPs. Stuff was at least happening behind the scenes, big stuff relating to mainline Sonic, even when nothing was happening. Yet that's what makes this situation so weird for Sonic, SEGA, Sonic Team, and Sonic fans. We still don't know if the recent voice actors who left will have any influence in the new Sonic material to come within the next year or so. The implication of Pontac and Graff leaving, it may not mean anything and they're still writing for the series. If not, their influence may still linger. But these actually taking effect makes you wonder how much else of SEGA has changed as well, and if for the better or worse than just a symbolic paradigm shift. It's just a thicker, foggier gray area until the day of reckoning, and that is both exhilarating, yet anxious as hell for practically everyone involved. And thus, we circle back to this specific announcement. Upcoming projects, events, and partnerships meant to celebrate Sonic's 30th. What is there to expect, and will we see the bulk of Sonic stuff here? With all these weird choices and advancements in effect, I can picture some announcements here and there, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm largely hesitant on us getting major new game announcements here. It feels odd they announced this before June, the month of E3, the month where they normally show off more of their own gaming announcements, the month of Sonic's birthday, the month where they usually host bigger celebratory events and news announcements to go along with them, alongside their emphasizing partnerships and events as well, not just projects. They still have another month to dump even more news and announcements on us that I feel like to a certain extent, whether big or small, this could be another case of them announcing announcements, that they have more to come, because the vibe I'm getting from this is the Nintendo Direct effect. The last normal regular Nintendo Direct we got prior to last February was over 2 years ago, and people pushed their expectations, me included, beyond the moon because it was that long ago we got any major news format of big game announcements. It's been forever since we got Sonic game updates, so naturally people will push their expectations through the roof. And between this, the fact they highlighted partnerships and future events, and the fact they still have one, if not two big time frames to drop even more bigger news on Sonic fans, and in the middle or end of June, it's hard for me to expect that much from this, let alone the pessimism I've garnered and can reasonably vibe with. There have been rumors of Sonic Colors getting an HD remaster, and now there's another rumor of Sonic getting a collection, unknown whether it's a 3D or 2D one. Of the actual projects they could announce, while I don't care that much about being wrong on these, I could see them dropping Sonic Colors HD and a collection of Sonic's 1, 2, CD, and 3 and Knuckles in this quote-unquote Sonic Direct. Those scream noteworthy Sonic announcements, but they don't scream massive E3 anniversary bombshell announcements, you know? That and rolling back the Unstoppable video, the video they uploaded several hours ago, you can pick out clips of Sonic's 1, 2, and even 3 in widescreen, meaning they got upgraded and or are running on a stronger modern build. Packaging a collection of those classic Sonic games for 20 bucks for the 30th anniversary, it explains itself. And Sonic Colors HD doesn't seem too far out of the realm of possibility either. It was the first mainline Sonic game to gain universal praise after a while upon release from critics and outlets everywhere back in 2010. But if I may interject, I feel like this would benefit more if this were an HD boost collection. Unleashed, colors, and generations, all optimized for modern hardware, HD, 60 frames. It re-releases 2 games that barely got re-released at all, one of which most fans are craving for a re-release. I'm looking at you, Unleashed. And celebrates its history within itself with generations. I'd be willing to bet either here or later into June there may be a collection of Boost games remastered if Colors and the classic 2D games are getting it. If Colors on its own, I won't be too surprised, but very, very, very slightly disappointed. Colors at the time was praised. I think it's an overall decent game, but I personally don't think it's aged as well as some may think between the level design, the repetitive nature of some of the levels, and parts of levels they reuse, the straightforward plot, structure, controls. If you guys know me, I'm into my Sonic games that experiment more, bring more to the table with its gameplay, and flesh out its characters and plot as well. The Unleasheds, the Adventures, the Adventure 2s, etc. I find it hard for me personally to go back to Colors compared to most other games, but a Colors remaster at least makes sense on paper that I'm not going to lose sleep over, especially if Generations and especially Unleashed are grouped with it. There was also a listing of Sonic Forces, weirdly enough, listed as a PlayStation 5 release via a context bar, as you could see the PS4 listing of it above. So this tells me they're re-releasing Sonic Forces on PS5 for some strange reason. I don't know why they'd want to keep pumping out Forces with the reputation and quality it has, but it's something, I guess. It's something. These are the actual projects I'm expecting them to drop on Thursday during the live stream. They'll probably drop some partnerships like continuing Puma brand shoes, the Danimals yogurt thing too. I don't know. I don't follow the partnership brandings or deals. One thing that could be banger is if they just dropped a Smash Brothers reveal, counted that as a partnership, and said Dr. Eggman's coming to the game or something. Major doubt this is a Sega and Sonic thing specifically, but that would be kind of hilarious. They may announce a new mobile game or two as well. That doesn't seem unrealistic. I also think us getting a tease on Sonic Prime seems reasonable, since Netflix revealed the name of it and we're still a ways off from it releasing in 2022. Something small, if not just restating it's a thing that exists, but a trailer for the Sonic movie sequel, Sonic Movie 2, seems reasonable as well, given it comes out in less than a year from now and filming wrapped up already. Some short teaser trailer could make a decent stroke of sense. And as far as events, I'm not sure what other events they may host beyond a 30th anniversary party, late June, or their E3 presence, but I do at least expect those 2 events to be announced. My expectations, as you could tell, are pretty tame and low. All things considered, I'd rather get hype over what I actually see in this instance compared to a Nintendo Direct, where there's a lot more room for possibilities. That and E3 plus an anniversary party next month leave more room for them to hold out on more announcements. I was expecting Adventure Remakes for a long while now. I feel like Adventure Remakes would benefit the series more in the long term than most of these re-releases and let us get a grasp on Sonic Team or whoever makes them, their quality and commitment, since Sonic Team's been faltering over this past decade, yet they keep changing and we don't know if it'll happen again this time. Something like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 remade from the ground up, though, screams either E3 or Anniversary Party to me. I doubt they'd announce them here if they did exist. Even then, this feels like a pipe dream and would come with its own set of anticipations and worries that I'm not sure if it's worth considering. However, a sequel to Sonic Mania wouldn't be that far-fetched for any showing. Sonic Mania is universally beloved. Letting the Mania dev team create their own fully original and unique 2D Sonic game makes the most logical sense. Just give that great Mania-style gameplay, all new levels, and secure Sonic's 2D branch of games under this stellar team. I don't know if I'm necessarily expecting a Mania sequel here, E3, or the Anniversary Party, but it has a more viable shot of happening at all than the Adventure Remakes, I feel. And finally, that brand new Sonic game, that new 3D entry in the main series everyone's been dying to know of. My prediction is all we'll get here is a teaser / snippet of the next big game, but we're not getting more details until either E3 or the Anniversary Party in June. If this is the big Sonic game, they want to properly reaffirm fans of their trust as they get the rest of Sonic Pillars set in stone. They'd likely want to save the hype and stir the pot for the next month, rather than unloading their entire load Thursday. One thing I could see, however, is this game coming out next year in 2022 rather than this year, hence my Adventure 1 and 2 remake idea, and if they were serious about them taking as much time as they possibly can to make these games as best as they could possibly be. I could be wrong about any of these. We may not get any collection or a different collection entirely. We may not get Adventure Remakes or a Mania 2 or what have you. That's the fun in speculation, at least. Regardless, the most I'll expect from this is a collection of the classic 2D games, Sonic Colors HD, if not a Boost HD collection, and a slight tease of the next big Sonic game. Mania 2, Adventure 1 and 2 remakes could happen and be a holiday release or just another regurgitated pipe dream. Both of these skew more to the pipe dreams than actual expectations, but anything related to these two and a proper blowout trailer of Sonic's next big game, I fully expect more for E3 or the anniversary celebration in June. Well, SEGA, you've officially entered hard mode. This anniversary and events of Sonic's announcements have a very high chance of serving as a paradigm shift for both the company and series going forward, so a lot can happen, and a lot of trust, fears, hype, and expectations ride on this, E3, and a potential anniversary celebration stream. The Quandary may clear up and we may get a big different Sonic, not just Sonic game going forward, or we may enter another cycle of lukewarm uncertainty if these changes and decisions were for naught. Even then, who's to say it may not take more than 1 or 2 banger announcements / new games. It may take longer, over the decade. It does appear we're dealing with a different SEGA, at least somewhat, but time will tell if this is a front they're putting on to try and save face again, or if they mean business and the best for the Blue Blur itself. Thank you for watching, and definitely stay tuned for much more Sonic content to come in the future. Stay super.
Huh?